and I will not be bullied by that.
Welcome to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. Loki is about to star in his own Disney Plus show. The character's been causing mischief in the MCU for 10 years, which is crazy when you think about how much our lives have changed since then. In case you need a refresher or would just like a trip down memory lane, here's everything that you need to know before watching Loki. So, long time ago, way out in deep space, there was a race of super attractive aliens who lived on a planet called Asgard. Well, not really a planet, more like a city that floats in space.
That thing does not obey the laws of physics at all.
Asgardians are very strong and live for thousands of years, so over the years as they travel to Earth, the humans mistake them for gods. This is how the ancient Norwegians developed their Norse mythology. These Asgardians are able to travel to other planets with a teleportation device they call the Bifrost. Asgard's king, Odin, uses this device to brutally subjugate 8 other planets, which he calls realms. To help him with this conquest, he hires the dwarves of Nidavellir to forge a powerful hammer called Mjolnir.
Mjolnir? What's Mjolnir?
Then he gives this hammer to his oldest daughter, Hela, and Hela loves killing. She frickin' loves it. She's got a little bit too much of her dad in her. In fact, Hela is so bloodthirsty that she makes Odin reconsider his warmongering ways and decides to make peace with the other 8 realms. Hela doesn't like this and she leads a rebellion against her dad. She slaughters the Asgardian warriors called the Valkyries, and Odin eventually manages to imprison her somewhere. Over time, people forgot about Hela and how much of a bastard that Odin used to be, as he leads Asgard into a new era of peace. Then, about 1500 years ago, the Earth was invaded by aliens called frost giants from planet Jotunheim. They attempted to freeze the Earth with a magic box called the Cask of Winters, but Odin and an army of superpowered aliens stopped them. In the process, Odin lost an eye, but gained wisdom. He discovered that the real frost giants are the friends we make along the way. Afterwards, the Norwegians worshipped Odin and the other Asgardians as gods. The king of the frost giants, Loki, was ashamed of his son because he was born very small.
All dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes.
Loki puts his infant son on a rock to die, where he was found by Odin. Odin's all like, hey, free baby! But then he also has an idea. If he raises Loki's son to be a prince of Asgard, then maybe this could be a way to forge a lasting peace between these two kingdoms. So he names this child Loki and raises him alongside his oldest son, Thor. But he decides to not tell him that he's really a shrimpy frost giant. Now, Thor is totally a Gryffindor. He's brave, he's a little dense, and loves to smashy stuff.
I'll hunt the monsters down and slay them all.
Whereas Loki is a little more bookish and clever. He's more of a Ravenclaw. That's right, Loki is a Ravenclaw and not a Slytherin, and I'll go to the mat on that. Loki doesn't really fit in with the Asgardian bro squad, so his mother, Frigga, looks after him and teaches him how to perform tricks.
That's not my trick, Michael. It's my illusion.
So, on Earth, humans worship Thor as the god of thunder.
Oh, I still don't think you're the god of thunder. But you ought to be.
While Loki is known as a trickster god, Thor is given Mjolnir and is extolled as the heir of Asgard, while Loki is treated like this. Nerd! Odin decides to coronate Thor as Asgard's new king, so he can retire, I guess? Or maybe do his sleepy thing that we'll talk about later.
Do you swear to cast aside all selfish ambition and to pledge yourself only to the good of the realm?
I swear!
But Thor's Norse mitzvah is ruined when the frost giants sneak into Asgard and try to retake the Cask of Winters. Afterwards, Thor is all upset that they ruined his big day and he wants revenge.
I have waited my entire life for this.
Odin's all like, don't go killing frost giants, we have to maintain the peace. And Thor is like, okay, I guess this sucks. But then Loki puts a little bug in his ear.
If they found a way to penetrate Asgard's defenses once, who's to say they won't try again?
So Loki, Thor, and the other space jocks ride off to Jotunheim, and they're gonna burn it down! During the fight, Loki notices that he's immune to the touch of the frost giants. Thor almost kicks off a war until Odin shows up on an 8-legged horse to enforce the peace.
These are the actions of a boy. Treat them as such.
Because when Anthony Hopkins shows up on an 8-legged horse, you listen to what he has to say. Afterwards, Odin is wicked upset that his son behaves so much like Hela, so he takes away his hammer, his armor, and his powers. But he leaves him a teensy loophole to regain his stuff.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
It's like if your mom threw out all your toys because you didn't clean your room, but then she whispered to the toys, hey, if he's worthy, then he can have all his toys back. Afterwards, Loki confronts Odin about his true heritage, and we get to watch these two English actors go to work for a living.
Tell me!
Loki yells so hard that Odin slips into the Odin sleep. And no, this isn't like when your uncle fakes a heart attack to keep you from winning an argument at Thanksgiving.
What's going on?
He's faking it.
Basically, the Odin sleep is a deep coma that lets Odin live a long time. This is not to be confused with an even deeper slumber, the Dougie sleep.
Oh, I don't want to lick it.
Afterwards, Loki becomes king of Asgard, and Thor's buddies begin to suspect that maybe the god of mischief could be causing mischief. And yeah, it turns out that he did actually let the Frost Giants into Asgard.
That was just a bit of fun, really. To ruin my brother's big day.
Back on Earth, Thor has discovered that he's now unworthy to lift his hammer. After he's arrested, Loki appears to tell him,
Father is dead.
because Thor's a big dumb idiot and Loki wants to keep him out of Asgard before he causes more trouble. So Thor goes on a humble quest, flirts with mortals, washes dishes, and becomes a more humble person. Thor's jock buddies go to Earth to tell Thor the truth about Odin. This is in defiance of the orders of their king, Loki, so he sends a giant robot called the Destroyer to kill them and Thor. This backfires as Thor's self-sacrifice to the Destroyer proves his worthiness and he regains his powers. Back on Asgard, Loki has allowed the Frost Giants into the palace to kill Odin, or so he led them to believe. Then he turns heel on his birth dad.
And your death came by the son of Odin.
Turns out Loki's master plan is to do what Thor never could, commit genocide against the Frost Giants. His plan is to leave the Bifrost running and destroy their planet, all because his daddy didn't hug him enough when they were kids. Thor returns, fights Loki, and destroys the Bifrost, severing his ties to Earth. At the last minute, Odin awakens to save Thor and Loki.
I could have done it! For you!
No, Loki.
Now this really bums Loki out, and so he pulls a Dr. Richard Kimball. I didn't kill my wife! R.I.P. Loki. Actually, Loki,
Who did not die?
is now looking for revenge against Thor. He wants to conquer Earth, the planet where Thor drank some brews and fell in love with Natalie Portman.
I never said I was a role model.
He finds a way to influence the mind of Thor's Earth friend, Eric Selvig, who's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury shows Selvig the Tesseract, which is secretly an Infinity Stone. These are 6 space rocks that were formed in the Big Bang and each embody a different aspect of the universe. Out in space, a half-genocidal alien named Thanos is trying to gather the Infinity Stones so he can destroy half of all life in the universe.
Why is he doing that?
Because there's not enough natural resources.
Then why not use the stones to make more resources?
Doug, I don't know. He's a villain. The logic is flawed. Thanos decides to send Loki to Earth so he can get the Tesseract for him. To help him, he gives him a mind control scepter, which is secretly the Mind Infinity Stone.
Why did Thanos give him an Infinity Stone if he is trying to get more Infinity Stones?
So Loki piggybacks on the Tesseract to arrive on Earth. He uses the mind control scepter to control government agents and scientists into doing his bidding. They're building a device that can bring an entire alien army to Earth. But the superheroes show up, capture Loki, and then Thor shows up and they have a poorly lit heart-to-heart.
I thought you dead. Did you mourn?
Afterwards, Loki is locked up, but he still uses the scepter's influence to make the superheroes fight. This backfires, classic Loki, and the heroes band together to stop him. They fight off his army while Loki has a meet-cute with the Hulk.
I am a god, you...
The Avengers defeat the aliens and arrest Loki so Thor can take him and the Tesseract back to Asgard. In the lobby of Stark Tower, the heroes get in an argument with Alexander Pierce, who's secretly the head of a Nazi science cult, long story.
I'm gonna have to ask you to turn that prisoner over to me.
But then, a time-traveling hero from the future named Ant-Man gives Tony Stark a heart attack.
Here goes!
Ant-Man is trying to steal the Tesseract so he and Tony Stark from the future can return to their own time and stop Thanos, who, in their timeline, succeeded in snapping away half the universe. Loki takes advantage of this confusion to steal the Tesseract and disappear. But here's the thing, the Avengers travel through time to borrow different Infinity Stones, which creates different timelines. But then Captain America goes back and returns the stones to set the time stream right.
Clip all the branches.
But Loki still has the Tesseract, meaning that he has created an alternate timeline. So he is no longer the real Loki. He's a variant Loki, a man outside time, who is ready to wreak havoc on the multiverse. Well, that's everything you need to know before watching Loki. Let me know your favorite Loki quote down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.